Yo, what is good? YouTube says today we're reacting to how Gen Alpha will change society forever. Gen Alpha. This video came out 2 months ago, so a lot of people have already seen it. But one of my favorite streamers, T Nichols, reacted to it. I didn't watch that video, but I was like, oh wait, I want to react to that video. So yeah, credit to him. I guess I don't know. I'm just copying him, but it's just reaction video. Whatever. Fuck. Uh, but if you guys like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment other videos you want to react to. Games you want to play as well, because I've been looking for recommendations. Go follow the Twitch and stuff, and yeah, it's about to be a cringe video. It's by Navi. The link to this video will be in the
Gen Alpha is
description.
on track to be the most troubled generation of all time, and it's not even close. This is the era of mindless consumption, extreme polarization,
Think about that.
and soulless.
Like, we're the last generation that will knows what life is like without social media, bro. Like, when we were like, is YouTube? I don't think YouTube is really social media. I feel like Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, I guess TikTok. Those things. The YouTube's not. I don't think that's social media. It is, but like it's more of just videos. But like every Gen Alpha, like their whole lives, there's been like I don't know. It's just weird. Like with the last generation, and it's like without
Meaningless
social
junk food
media.
entertainment. From the explosion of mental illness and violent crime to rampant consumerism and alarmism, our world is slowly degrading. And Gen A has been placed at the forefront of it all. Throw in a worldwide pandemic that shut down the entire globe for months, unhinged inflation, and technology that's becoming progressively more invasive, and you get a recipe that could destroy the minds and lives of millions. This is the generation of your little cousins, your younger siblings, or maybe even your kids. And while it may seem that these characteristics closely resemble those of Gen Z, there's one minor distinction that makes Gen A something that has never been seen in human history. Now, for those of you born anywhere between the 80s and the early 2000s, you might think of your life thus far in two main parts. Life without the internet and life with the internet.
So
you recall a time when phones were actually used for talking and when computers served as a tool rather than an alternate universe. You probably spent most of your free time outside or with other people. You were fully immersed in tangible reality and your digital experiences were probably limited to a couple hours a day. Rather than scrolling through 300 different TikToks in an hour, you watched a couple episodes of your favorite show. When you were bored, you were forced to make use of your imagination or just sit there and enjoy the silence for a little while. Fast forward to 2023 and your life is probably
I used to take naps on my stairs. Like I would literally just do the most random shit.
You likely spend most of your time on
carpet stairs,
and while that might be problematic, it doesn't change the fact that your developmental years were spent without the presence of this invasive technology. And because of that, you have a firm comprehension of the contrast between the two eras, which allows you to quickly recognize the issues unique to modernity, even if you might fall victim to them sometimes. But what if you didn't have that point of reference? What if you were born in the last decade? What if you were thrust right into the most unstable and confusing era in human history? What would your basis for stability and normality be? This question encapsulates the one-of-a-kind situation faced by Generation Alpha, and no one seems to have an answer to it. In fact, no one has any clue how it's going to play out. And this isn't your typical case of generations pointing fingers at each other. This is an era that could see the most profound societal transformation in human history.
It's like a Fortnite ad. It's like what Gen Alpha is doing right now is fucking Fortnite.
Wherever the game takes you, Marathon is by your side because we're driven together.
I'm sure.
It begins in the womb, where the development of the hypersensitive fetus is already being impacted
Bro, why is bro giving us sex ed class?
And unnatural amounts of radiation from digital devices. Upon birth, the kid begins to observe the people around it constantly staring down at their phones, which they might come to think of as an instinctual human function for all we know. Upon reaching 6 months old, babies already have an understanding of the basics of a touchscreen, with a third of babies under the age of 1 displaying the ability to swipe. If you've been around a baby recently, you know that they are completely infatuated with smartphones. They tend to have far more interest in screens than any other toy. And this makes perfect sense considering the fact that the luminescent, interactive world of a phone screen is simply unlike anything else. The lights, sounds, and rapid movements are unbelievably stimulating to a baby's brain. By the age of 5 or 6, most kids already have their own iPads, which renders the rest of their toys completely useless.
The iPad
this is
kids.
where they first encounter the confusing and detached world of the internet, where they will spend around 6 hours a day scrolling through mindless short-form content or watching other people play with toys.
Let's see. Wait, 7.5 hours for 15 to 18. All right, let's see. Let's see how I'm at.
They first encounter the confusing and detached world of the internet, where they will spend around 6 hours.
All right, 15 to 18, 7.5 hours per day. My daily average is 5 hours and 59 minutes. I don't fit any of these. I'm him. That's last week. Yeah, last 5 hours, 5 hours, 5 hours. Oh, 6 hours this week. All right, whatever. That's crazy.
Day scrolling through mindless
Last year was
short-form
really bad.
content,
I had like
watching other people.
I had
play
like
with
30
toys.
hours a week
And
on
if their
TikTok.
parents didn't take the time to enable a child lock, it's likely they'll come across something that even adults find scarring.
Yeah, that's fucking weird.
And you obviously can't expect the kid to be able to moderate themselves, which is why it's the parent's responsibility. But this can be much harder than it sounds. You see, having a smartphone has become standard for children as young as 7. Because of this,
I got my
the
first one
entire
at 10.
culture of this generation is
But
dictated
I wasn't
by the
allowed to have
internet.
social
Everything
media
they talk
until
about
like
or do
6th
for fun is
grade,
sourced from the
a bit
internet.
later.
So the one kid whose parents wouldn't buy them a phone
I got
is
Snapchat in
bound to be
6th
an
grade.
outcast
That's when I
from the
started getting
second
social
grade.
media.
Their ability to converse, socialize, and play is limited since they don't have access to the digital world that all the other kids are living in. And we know what excessive internet use does to adults, so we can only assume the impact would be much harsher on young children. But we also know how terrible social isolation can be, especially at a young age. So this leaves parents with a hard choice. Either they
Not the
expose
Ryan
their
Gosling
children to the
meme,
brain
bro.
rot of the internet, or they shield them from it and
It's
inhibit
literally
their
me.
ability to develop socially. Okay, fast forward to the current day, where the oldest of Gen A is about 13 years old. While many kids at this point will have had some level of developmental impairment, the real damage has yet to be done. Around this age is the time when many kids start to develop worldviews, opinions, and identities. They begin to comprehend some of the underlying dynamics of society and human nature, and naturally, their curiosity directs them towards the internet. And while the internet can be good for this, it has a far greater potential to ruin it. The internet is filled with useful information and resources, but it's completely smothered by masses of sensationalist garbage that's designed to hijack your emotions and get your click. Now, we adults
Don't
fall
go
for
on
this all the
Instagram
time,
Reels.
so
That's
why
what he
wouldn't young
said.
children? The algorithm isn't going to serve them something educational or appropriate for their age. It's going to serve them a fresh batch of mind-numbing waste. It's going to serve them the
Brain
same
rot.
content that everyone else clicked on. And due to the nature of the internet, this is almost always something that's crafted to be as shocking and stimulating as possible. Or in other words, something that doesn't align with reality. And this works a lot like a drug. It's fast-paced, interesting, and gives you full control. As long as you keep swiping, it keeps delivering. It offers everything that reality lacks and more. And since Gen A has been exposed to this world from such a young age, its effects will have a much longer time to incubate, with most of that time being during
Dude,
some of the
Instagram Reels
most important
fucks.
years of mental development. As a
It's messed
result,
up, bro.
Gen A will likely see a much bigger spike in mental illness than Gen Z, and at a much younger age.
Yeah.
Everything from depression to anxiety will be
One thing I
more
will say
rampant than
from
ever.
like social media, it does not help with mental health at all. Like the adults are right that it is ruining like teens and mental health. That's 100% true.
The less
But,
common
I mean,
disorder among Gen Z, known
I
as
still don't
internet
want it gone.
psychosis, will likely become more widespread among Gen A. And everything only gets worse from here. You see, one of the coping mechanisms we have for the illness and emptiness caused by our modern habits is to double down and dive even deeper. And through this, many people actually find an outlet. Enter the toxic wastelands of Twitter and Reddit. Some of the people who need help the most come to these sites in search of an identity and
Not
fulfillment. In
Redditors,
doing
bro.
so, they come across a vast array of different political
Not-
and cultural rabbit
not
holes.
Reddit, bro.
Eventually, they find one appealing enough. they
Reddit
allow it to
Reddit is
completely
useful
take
for
control
some
of their
things, but
I'm partnering with
it is
Campbell's to
some
share
of
one of
the
my
weirdest
go-to sides
motherfuckers
with
you'll
you.
find on
Certain
Reddit,
dishes
dude.
mean the holidays are here.
Twitter is
The
mostly
smell,
just
the
like
smells.
stupid people. Reddit is like the weirdest motherfuckers of all time. Twitter is just like just people who are annoying and stupid and dumb.
identity and
Like,
personality.
but Reddit
And
is
this
just
is
like
what has
the
caused
weirdest
political and
motherfuckers
cultural
you'll find.
discourse to become so diluted and polarizing. When a person's entire identity is completely reliant on certain ideas or beliefs, a simple
It's
question
not
of those
Patrick
beliefs
Bateman.
is an attack on them as a
So
human being.
Sigma.
And this problem will only be worse with Gen A down the line. Gen A doesn't know what the more tame political climate of the past looks like. They weren't around for the time when most people didn't really care or think about
Yeah.
politics at all.
I was
By
like growing up
2016,
like
the oldest of
as
Gen A was 6,
like,
and they got to witness the unprecedented
as.
2016 election. Everything that has happened since 2016 is the only experience or knowledge they have about politics,
Oh
which
my
will heavily
God.
shape how they view it as they mature. And this will have massive implications down the line.
crazy.
Gen A will likely turn out to be even more radical and zealous than Gen Z,
Not
and the
the
internet will
Joker.
be their main outlet of expressing it. And those who manage to avoid this trap won't have
Fuck
it
bro
much
want.
easier. As society becomes more divided and polarized, it becomes harder for those floating in between to find meaning and a sense of community. Because of this, Gen A will also be more nihilistic than Gen Z. And while this is terrible for us, not everyone loses here. Modern corporations stand to profit
Good movie.
massively from this.
Wolf of Wall
If you take a
Street.
generation suffering from mental illness, meaninglessness, and the inability to critically think, and you pair it with the fact that it's the
Barbie.
largest generation in human history, you get something that corporate America could only dream of. Corporations have already taken note of this with
Nah,
Gen Z,
this
using the masses of data they produce through their excessive social media use in order to make advertising more predatory and
Fortnite
minded. And this has
Festival
worked
beats.
fantastically for them.
That's
But in
crazy.
many ways,
I love
Gen
that
Z
movie.
is simply just a warm-up for Gen A. Since Gen A will spend even more time scrolling, they will produce even more data for corporations.
No
which
one
will
in
then
Gen
be used
Alpha
to
has
make
seen that
advertising
movie, I
even more
guarantee.
effective.
If they
So
have,
as Gen A
then they're
matures and
bad
enters the
parents.
workforce, consumer spending and corporate profits will soar even higher. The mental instability paired with large swaths of data at corporations' disposal will make business easier than ever. As
Business
a
is
result, the
booming.
inflation-induced poverty we see today will only continue to get worse. Consumerism and materialism will be more prevalent than ever, but not in the traditional sense. You see, in the past, these things were exhibited through clothes, cars, houses, and jewelry. But that was back in the 2010s when people
That's
valued
a good
reality over the
movie.
digital world. We're talking about
That
2035, when
movie's
Gen
cool,
A is
I
in their
guess.
20s. While video game cosmetics and virtual reality existed before, they'll be the standard now. People will now pay for virtual clothes, virtual mansions, and virtual supercars as if they were real, and they will experience it all through a VR headset. And corporations will be happy to
I don't like
deliver,
VR that
considering the
much.
fact
It
that it's
hurts my
not
head.
real and costs nothing to produce. People will spend half their day working just to make enough money to sustain their physical bodies in virtual life. And as time goes on, the corporations behind this continue to gain more leverage over the people as they become more dependent on their product. The only thing that will remain unchanged is Western corporations' exploitation of third world labor to produce everything.
Yep.
And it's around this point that a hyper-reality will officially come into existence, alongside the beginning of the end of our species.
Yeah,
Now,
VR
this
just
is a
hurts my
problem
head,
that
like,
will
a
take
lot.
another decade
It
to
gives me a
develop,
headache.
but will require some serious intervention to prevent. And so far, no one is taking it all
That
that
one-
seriously,
dude, that doesn't
with
even look cool. I
experts
don't even
referring
want
to the
that. Like, I
situation
don't
as an
want it.
unintentional global experiment. We've seen how a lot of this plays out with Gen Z, and it's
Augmented
been nothing
reality.
short of tragic. Gen Z has declined in almost every measure that matters, and the internet has made us painfully aware of it. To think that this cycle is going to repeat itself with another generation, and that no one is really standing up to it, shows you just how much
Probably,
everyone
yeah.
cares. The reality is that even though younger people are suffering from these
Believe that.
problems the most, it's affecting people of all ages. And the entire situation is a catch-22.
Hurts my
Our way
ass.
of dealing with these problems is the same behavior that causes them in the first place. The only real way to end this vicious cycle would be to completely desert many of these modern technologies. But this option wouldn't be without problems either, as a large part of our economy is reliant on this technology. Many of the largest companies in the world are the producers of this technology,
Titanium.
and they employ millions of us. So if they go under, so do we. The next 10 years could prove to be some of the most confusing and problematic years in human history. And while we can make a rough guess as to how things will play out, there's really no limit to what could happen.
Yep, that'll be a video by Navi. Everyone, that video is in the description. Go like that. But yeah, that's a pretty good video. It definitely, shows how fucked the next few generations are going to be. Yeah, it's sad. Kind of, I don't know. That's a good video though. Go subscribe to Navi. Yeah, that'd be a video. If you guys like that video, make sure to like, subscribe. Comment other videos you want me to react to. Comment other videos you want me, games you want me to play. Cause I literally need recommendations and stuff, and I love playing games on stream and uploading on YouTube and stuff. It's fun. But yeah, see you guys next one. Thank you for watching. I need to get better.